ride, huh?
Oh my God.
Did you know that all the buttons actually, if you flip them, the toggles, the lights all do something?
God,
Look.
look at this.
Oops! Look out! Oh no! What do we do? Oh no! Hi. You know, it's fun living in our city of Lynn, and a lot of people don't know that there's a Marine Boulevard industrial park, and there's a hidden gem there called EID. It's Elevator Interior Design. And a few years ago, well, I'm going to talk to a principal in the company, John Antonelli, and talk about a special project that they did a few years ago and why we're here today and what's going on with all the bustle behind us. Welcome to our little spot, John. Thanks for taking some time away from your crowd.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
All right, so tell us what's going on here and what did you do 4 years ago?
2 years ago, we actually built.
2 years ago.
Yeah, we built the Lost in Space chariot. It was January 2015, and I looked out over my shop here, and I realized how fast time flies. And a whole year had gone by, and then I kind of get a little melancholy, and I realized 50 years had gone by since the debut of one of my favorite shows, Lost in Space. And I'd always watched out for the vehicle in that show. In my shop here, we build motorcycles, we work on boats, we have a great time.
So elevators are just...
Elevators is what we do all day long. We build...
But you got the capability and skills and
do
personnel
anything.
to do anything
Yeah,
with design.
Great technique and craftsmen here, so yeah, we do a great job with that stuff.
So you were piqued by Lost in Space from your childhood, and then what happened?
So I realized that I would have gone anywhere in the United States to see the Lost in Space chariot. Watched out for it my whole life.
Kids today will ask their parents about the chariot. It got great use in almost every episode, and everybody wanted one. They made toys to support it in the aftermarket, and
it was that vehicle they used when they crashed on the planet regularly, which happened quite often. So loved it, and I said, I'm probably never going to see that, and 50 years have gone by, and we never will. The fans of this TV show never will. So I looked out over my shop, and I said,
we can do that.
We can probably, we have the skill, we have the craftsmen. I think we can build that. And I went immediately to my computer, went on Craigslist. I knew that it was built on a 1965 Snowcat, and found one out in Boise, Idaho, and haven't found any more since.
So it's a used basic chassis? So it might have served in a ski area.
It was in the ski area. It went up and down the mountains for an electrical company, and it is the exact same base that they used for the chariot, the 20th Century Prop Department. So we had it shipped here, got it here at the beginning of February. Tore it down, everyone went at it, everyone was on board. We stayed nights and weekends, a lot of late night pizza, and we had it ready for the show's anniversary in September 2015. We had it in New York and New Jersey with the original cast members and debuted it there, and it was a great, smashing success.
But you didn't just build it, it's authentic. You went to the studio. Tell us about what
happened
Fox,
was
20th Century Fox?
Yeah, we reached out to Kevin Burns, who's the custodian of Irwin Allen's properties, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, Land of the Giants, Lost in Space. And
the Towering Inferno, he made a few movies, and
Inferno,
The Swarm.
That's right. Great producer-director. And I got in contact with Kevin Burns, and here I was talking with a Hollywood producer on the phone one Saturday morning, telling him I want to build the chariot. And he's heard that before. He's heard that many times. And he's like, can't do it, can't call it.
But you have the base.
So I said, listen, we want to do it. We want you on board. And he said, send me a few pictures. And after we did, the floodgates opened. He was very generous. He went to 20th Century Prop Department, got the blueprints, and sent them here.
So they're very authentic, absolutely built exactly to scale.
Screen accurate as can be.
Was there actually more than one unit?
No, there's
really?
only
so
one.
The one you see in every scene for all the shows
is the only one. Yeah.
is the one.
Same one.
They put more effort into that prop, I think, than almost anything else.
Yeah, the Jupiter 2 was pretty expensive. It was one of the most expensive pilots at the time, and that was a year before Star Trek. So
I remember reading about Irwin Allen would send his handlers around to buy up obsolete old computer boards just so he had lots of buttons and flashing lights for most of his movies.
Sure.
It's kind of cool. I think that's a little bit of trivia.
You do see all the props again and again and again. You see it in the Bat Cave. And all of the back, even up to this day in the Austin Powers movies, it's the same regurgitated computer parts. Fantastic, all blinky lights, looks great.
They call it the Irwin Allen collection.
That's right.
What was the genesis of the robot? You can't have a rover without a robot.
No, you cannot.
So if you don't know the show, you're missing something. Do some research. Come on, watch the show. It's kind of campy.
Yeah, it's two of the obvious props that are most favorite in the show. And we've had the Chariot completed for 2 years now. We knew we had to add a B9 robot to the collection. We have probably one of the most comprehensive Lost in Space collections.
It sounds like the original voice.
Dick Tufeld did the voice, and in there are 500 phrases that rotate on a regular basis.
Your ultimate Chatty Cathy doll.
That's exactly right, yeah. This model was built by Mike Joyce of B9 Creations. He's an authorized fabricator, and he put out about 120 to 150. And
you mean of these?
Of these,
okay,
yeah.
so there's more of these.
There's
only one
these.
rover, though.
There's only one Chariot. There's a B9 Builders Club as well, so many others have their own. And they use the original molds from the original two that Kinoshita made for the 20th Century Fox prop department. And it's an amazing feat of craftsmanship.
I'm going to take a closer look at it.
Yeah,
I saw it driving around outside. You brought it in for this event.
Right. Fortunately, Mark Goddard lives in Massachusetts. Mark Goddard played Major Don West, the pilot. Lives on the South Shore. He's with us with the Chariot for the last 2 years in many different places. A very wonderful guy, very easygoing. He'll be here tonight, and he'll meet and greet fans.
Some footage with him as well. Well, thanks, John Antonelli. You have to get back to your crowd.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming by.
Tell us about what's going on.
Thank you. Now,
all right.
Bye.
You never know who you're going to find when you start roving around the Chariot replica. Look who I've got with me. We can't get away without asking him a few questions. I got Chris Pappas. Now, I understood that you did a lot of the research in getting the blueprints, et cetera. So tell us about that journey.
Sure. So back when John began the project, he contacted me and asked me if I'd like to participate. And of course, who wouldn't? He's building a full-size Chariot. So what I did for John is I started doing research, collected photographs, screen caps, blueprints, and started poring over those to try to extrapolate everything we needed to build, because a lot of the stuff that's in the Chariot doesn't exist anymore. There's a few custom-made pieces that the studio made. There's also things that were easy to find in 1965 that had to be tracked down today.
The ultimate restoration, it's hard when you're restoring something that only exists in Hollywood. You can't go to an auto salvage yard and get another part for the 48 Ford or something.
Those chairs are from our dining room set.
What was the hardest thing to replicate?
John did all the hard work with his team here. I mean, the whole
chassis. If they didn't have it, they made it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And, what's it run on? Propane, by the way?
It runs on regular gasoline.
Gasoline.
There's a Ford engine in there.
Well, the interesting thing is a lot of times a prop might be a shell, but this one had interior detail, because a lot of the times the plots took place when they're actually inside writing. And I always liked as a kid noticing how great the visibility was with all the glass.
Right, I'm sure exactly by design.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris.
Oh, you're
good
quite
to
welcome.
talk to the guy that actually
Thank
built the Chariot. What's your name again?
Calais Rockna.
And you live in Lynn?
Beverly.
Okay, so how did you hear about this event?
I met John a couple years ago.
Okay.
He had it on Facebook. He showed that he was building a Chariot, and I was shocked and was ready to come see it.
You know, when I was a kid growing up, I always thought of Lost in Space as a boys' show. Did you get into it like I did? My sister was kind of about it, but what does it mean to you?
Well, I had a crush on Mark Goddard. so it helped.
Oh, you're going to hang around for when he shows up
Oh
later.
yeah, I've met Mark more than once.
Of course, that's Major Don West.
I've met Jonathan Harris back in 1999.
You ninny!
He was awesome. He was very much the gentleman.
He's gone now, though,
Yes.
right? Yeah. You know what's happening now, right? Netflix is debuting the reboot. How do you feel about that?
I think it's great. I mean, they're bringing Lost in Space up into today's world.
So the Robinsons are a mixed family in this one?
Yes.
Oh boy, I can't wait to tune in. Well, thank you. And have you gone to get a close-up of the rover yet?
Well, I actually got to ride in the chariot in the parade in Salem last Halloween.
Let's go over and take a look at it. You give me a tour.
I'll give you a tour?
Yeah.
We can do that.
All right. And we couldn't get away without talking to Dan Schroeder here, because not only is he a fan, you don't look old enough, but he remembers the original Lost in Space series, and, well, he's going to tell you a little bit about that and his part of working on the chariot.
Well, it was 3 days after my 13th birthday. I had just got my G.I. Joe Frogman, was in the tub. My mother said, hey, that's that show with the spaceship and the robots on. So I jumped out, ran out, did put my pajamas on, and have been a fan ever since. Watched it constantly. Was at the 20th anniversary in Boston, where John and we all were there, but we didn't know each other. It's been a great show. It just, the first season to me was the best because it was straight action. And it's just been an incredible journey. My nephew sent me a text about this chariot being built, and I thought it was a model kit. So when I looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, they're building a full-size chariot. So I was working at the Wright Museum, the World War II museum I work at, and I had a lecture in Linfield, so I sent him a message. I said, you know, what's the worst thing you can say? Get out of here? Came down, and John and I were talking, and we were 10-year-old kids again. It's been an incredible, incredible journey. You know, we're doing show, meeting the cast. You know, you're a 10-year-old kid watching it, growing up, and to meet them, and they're the nicest people you've ever met. Really down to earth, no uppity, and you know, Marta Krister is probably the sweetest person. We'll talk to you Judy Robinson, I'm sorry, and just a great cast. You know, we've done different shows with them, and they're incredible. But it's funny when you go to shows and you see the chariots there, and you see people come up to it. They're kids again, grown men and women who watched it, and now another generation is watching it again.
Well, we just talked about the Netflix reboot.
Right.
You know, I think it would be great. We're about to take the camera over and get some close-ups, and would you be there to sort of answer some questions?
I can do anything
we'll
you
point
need
some
for me.
things out, and we'll just take it from there.
And here we are inside the chariot, the exact copy of the original, the only working one in the world today. We have the controls here that run back and forth on the stick. We have the radar sensor unit here that they knew where the inland sea was and where to go. All right? All the lights blink just like on the original series. Okay? And the cast members would ride in here, and the robot, upper torso of him, would ride on back here.
So tell us about this stuff.
All right, these are some artifacts that we have that go along with the chariot. This is called a chariot rifle, as you saw earlier. It was built by a gentleman in Florida named Eric Negri. He gave it to us so we would have it with the chariot. You pull the trigger, and it's supposed to light up, but the batteries are low because everybody's doing it. This was built for the original pilot and then used only a couple times during the series. Later on, it was spray painted silver or blue, and aliens used it. This is a first season laser pistol. Press the button. It fires. And these were used, again, in the first season. Problem was they had a lot of problems. These parts would fall off, and then they'd have to glue them back. So they went to the much simpler silver one. This is the infamous solar wrench. You'd hear them asking for the solar wrench all the time. And that's one of them right there. Of course, I was lucky enough to have Mark Goddard sign it for me. These are early molds that John and the crew used to build the burrows and the computers in it. These are rubber molds. They would pour the material in it, and this would be the finished product, and they would come out like that. These are some early plates from the chariot as we got better and better and more detailed. These are Lost in Space magazines that came out in the early 80s and 90s by a man named Flint Mitchell. And these are a set, these here are from a company called Lunar Models that made Lost in Space models. And this was before anything came out. You have the Chariot. You have the space pod here. And these are the family Robinson. And this is the gun hatch when Major West shot the Cyclops. John told him, take the gun hatch, saw the Cyclops and fired and killed the Cyclops. Up here in the Hungry Sea, Major West was up here fixing these solar batteries when he fell off into the water. Come on over, let's meet the robot. This is our B9 robot. He's a new addition to our crew. He moves and talks. He's on a set, things he says. He actually will answer yes and no's, questions. And on the series, Bob May was inside, a gentleman by the name of Bob May, who was the robot. And he was never on film, and nobody ever knew. Dick Tufeld was devoid of it. And for those of you who don't know, the phrase, "this does not compute," came right from this guy, along with the world famous Danger Will Robinson.
I ran into Roger Scales, and he's an old Lost in Space fan. Tell us about that, and what did you bring with you to?
Well, I mean, I started watching Lost in Space in the early 70s when I was a kid growing up.
Early 60s, excuse me.
Well, no, I mean, I was born in the late 60s,
really?
so.
These were in reruns by then, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
And nothing was better for me than coming home from school.
I remember they did show them on Sci-Fi Channel for a while.
They did,
yes.
They did. But before cable,
right.
When we just had the 3 local channels and a couple local stations, I was able to catch Lost in Space when I came home from school. I mean, you got a robot, you got a 10-year-old kid who I could identify with, and Will Robinson. I mean, that was the huge appeal.
I always thought that was the appeal, too. I always wished I was the kid or knew the kid
Absolutely.
that was on this adventure.
Yeah.
So what do you got in your hand? Those are comic books?
These are comic books that came out over the years. There was a couple that came out last year that were actual lost scripts that were reissued in comic book form from the original program. And then Innovation had put some out back in the 80s, and actually Billy Mummy actually contributed to some of the writing of them.
The guest of honor has finally arrived. We're sitting down with Mark Goddard, who played Major Don West on the original show back in 65, 66, and the late 60s. And his wife, Evelyn, is with us. Yeah. We don't have a mic for her, so if she says anything, she's going to just get intimate with us here.
Oh, me?
Anyway, Mark Goddard, I'm so glad to meet
Lynn,
you.
Nice to meet you.
It's Calvin.
Calvin?
You're in Lynn.
Oh, I'm in Lynn?
Yeah. But,
I thought I was in Calvin.
Well, let me just tell you, we have actually met before.
Where's that?
On Venice Beach, California, 1984.
Okay.
I was campaigning for Gary Hart. We had the ironing board brigade because it looks a little lame when you're sitting there on a beach with a coffee table. I mean, a card table. So we could stand up at it, move around, and you came by and you said your niece was working for Gary up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I asked you, why do you look familiar? And you said, you might have seen me on television. And I said, you Mark Goddard? And of course I was with a youngster and he didn't know who he was.
Right.
And then you also played Scorpion on All My Children or some sort?
I was on All My Children, yes. About that time in the 80s, yes.
Well, first of all, do you remember meeting me that day?
No.
Well, we had a good time that
well,
day.
I do.
After we went out for drinks.
But you know who you resemble?
Well, I don't get mistaken for him anymore.
Okay.
Robin Williams, I get it all the time.
He died.
Okay.
Anyway, but no, I don't remember, but then kind of remember because of the location.
Right.
Venice Beach and all that.
Well, it was Memorial Weekend because where people are on Memorial Weekend in Hollywood and LA is at the beach. So we went down there and campaigned.
Yeah.
And I ran Henry Waxman's congressional district, and we won.
Good for you. That's good.
Because the Mondale people all have those lame card tables.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I got a couple questions.
Okay.
First of all, as a child, I used to love the program, especially the first few episodes that were technically brilliant, great screenplays, and then it got a little campy after that. But
Right.
it was just something that you all loved, and it's a thrill to see the robot and the replica of the chariot here, because every kid wanted to be a part of that.
And what's interesting, Calvin, is that the first season in black and white is the season that I love the most, and also Guy Williams, who played the father in the show, loved the most. And we wanted the show to go that way, more serious family lost in space. Now the new reboot is very serious. It's beautifully done. All you people in Lynn are going to love it. It's sensational. And
it's on Netflix. They've been hyping it for a few weeks, and I can't wait.
It's being hyped a lot. It's big. It's going to be Netflix's big new sci-fi show. You can't miss. It's very big.
But the thing is it's upgraded socially too. I remember when they redid Roots, they made it like it's not your father's Roots anymore. They had disclaimers about adult content, etc.
Yeah.
But this one, there's the Robinsons are a mixed family, I understand.
Well, in effect, yes. Maureen and John Robinson aren't getting along that well at the time, and it seems that she had a daughter.
No spoilers.
Oh yeah, no spoilers. That's
well,
right.
this will telecast after the beginning.
Well, yeah, but you'll see it all. But the cast is fantastic. The acting is just brilliant in it. I have such admiration for everyone, especially the new Don West. He and I bonded like crazy. I was out in LA for the premiere, and we bonded beautifully. He is sensational and a fun guy. He's got the kind of crazy humor that I have, so that's why we liked each other so much, I think,
Well, you did a cameo role in 1998's movie version.
Yeah.
And Matt LeBlanc, who's also from Massachusetts, played
he's from Newton.
Don West in that one, and it was William Hurt played.
William Hurt.
Oh, and now Oscar winner Gary Oldman.
Yeah, they had a great cast, but it just didn't
Dr.
work.
Smith.
The show didn't work.
I liked the beginning of it, but it just got preposterous after that. It was just another sci-fi thing. It didn't have enough to the original, really heart of the original, which was a family in this predicament. And how did we get along?
The premiere was very successful. The audience laughed, clapped at different times. It was a different reaction from the movie. It was excellent.
Went very well. People are going to love it. In fact, we're going to see it today, aren't we?
Now, people didn't know that you were from Massachusetts originally.
Yep, Situate. I was born in Lowell.
Right.
I was raised in Situate. I went to Holy Cross College in Worcester. I was arrested in Quincy. So I was.
I hope you were doing something green, like laying down in front of bulldozers and something.
No. It was a prank kind of a thing that happened, and I got arrested.
You rascal.
But it was fun. It was fun.
Wasn't it Johnny Ringo and you had a gun?
Oh, Johnny Ringo, got arrested for carrying a gun in Boston.
Carrying a gun.
I had my cowboy outfit on, had a gun.
You played Johnny Ringo, didn't you?
I played his deputy, Cully. I'm always like a deputy or like Chris Ballard on The Detectives. I'm behind Robert Taylor's the captain.
Yeah,
of
I
the
saw
Detectives.
a still of you online the other day. I says, I didn't know he was there with Robert Taylor and the Detectives. And, what was your last role other than the Lost in Space movie cameo?
Oh, I think probably I was on Broadway with Liza Minnelli, but my last role was probably on One Life to Live. I did General Hospital after that. That was kind of fun stuff to do.
So Irwin Allen, we spoke a little bit with John Antonelli about that, about how he would go out and have people buy up just endless panels of flashing lights and buttons for almost every show he did. Had that sort of thing, and I think that's kind of cool because he did Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea,
right?
And
Time Tunnel, and the Big People. What's that? The Land of
the Giants. I forgot about that.
So it's like he had a lot of gadgets. He loved gadgets. Irwin Allen loved gadgets. He liked gadgets better than actors. I'll tell you that.
Little weak book, but they were always fun. And he did the Towering Inferno.
Yes, he did.
Which was
in the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh yes.
That's
and
why
the
they
Swarm.
call.
Those are three that I know.
He was called the Master of Disaster.
Right.
He was the Master of Disaster.
So, you ever hear from other survivors from the cast? I understand.
Well,
June
we do
Lockhart,
shows together once in a while. June's doing great. I think she's 92 now, 94 or something.
She was the mother on Lassie.
Yeah, she's doing great.
Guy Williams was Zorro.
He passed away.
But he was Zorro in the Disney half-hour thing back in the 50s and early 60s.
Yeah, and
Marta Kristen, I understand, does some appearances with you.
Yeah, we do appearances together.
She played Judy.
Yeah. And
now, even as a kid, I always wondered, Don't the Robinsons think that Judy's off with Don West because they're the only people of their age on the entire planet? Did you ever get hit
well,
up
as
with
a
questions
parent,
like
I
that?
would worry about that she'd be that with Don West, but he was such a good guy.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
I mean, any parent would want their daughter to marry Don West. You have to, put them together.
They never sent the robot to rescue her from them.
No.
Of course, they always
no.
had to get Billy Mooney away from
Dr.
whatever
Smith.
Dr. Smith was getting
Yeah.
himself into. You ninny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and Billy got along very well, and with the robot, the three of them kind of took the show over, which is fine in the second year. And
Well, I remember as a kid, we always said, here comes special guest star Jonathan Harris.
Yeah.
We were waiting for him to be killed off or something so they could have another guest
no,
star, but no.
that's why he
was-
had it. He knew. He was smart. He knew what to do. He couldn't have a villain on the show, unless he made it comedic and made it so he worked his way in beautifully. He knew what to do. He was a hell of a good actor.
I've seen him on Twilight Zone episode or two as well.
Billy had a great Twilight Zone. Billy, where he
Oh,
sent people
two of the creepiest.
Billy into the field.
He's the little kid that
sent
keeps
people into the
holds the
field.
town hostage.
You're a
And the
bad
other
man.
one-
Into the field you go.
And the other one where he's talking to his late grandma on the
Oh, yeah?
telephone, the little kid's
Billy did,
phone.
yeah.
That was Billy Mooney too.
Oh yeah, he did good.
So, I don't know if this is a question I should ask, but I'm going to. Who had a bigger budget, Star Trek or Lost in Space?
I wouldn't have any idea. I think we did.
Just wondering, because they
I'd say
overlapped
Lost in-
in some of the years, but both
no,
were
we
known for
went
doing...
on one year before them, and
Yeah.
CBS. I think we had a bigger budget then because we had, CBS behind us and so forth, and they was syndicated. They were different.
Right. Well, they're like...
It doesn't matter though.
They're like American Tourister luggage. They're forever.
Yeah.
But the thing is both shows were known for packing a lot out of relatively little budgets.
Yeah.
Because who is it, 50 years later? It's one of my top 10 shows that I grew up with. You and Rawhide and Route 66. That was about it. I didn't care about anything else. So you, I remember one thing in 1965 when everything went color on TV. Up until then, NBC had a few peacock moments. But
Right.
I remember noticing, even watching black and white, hey, they had to redo all the opening montages in color now. And I remember when the new one
they
came out
did
for
that,
Lost
yeah.
in Space. Yeah. Still going through
No,
on
we
the
had it, yeah,
umbilicals,
right.
but that's still that iconic sound.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sitting down and chatting with us. I'm glad you're still wearing
I
your
got to tell you
Celtics.
though, to the audience, for 50 years, I had to hear how great Star Trek was compared to Lost in Space, which was a nothing science fiction show, a little baby one. But you know what? It ain't the way it is anymore. Not after
got
this
the
reboot.
last laugh.
We got the last laugh with the reboot. We have a reboot. We have Lost in Space now, where you guys are going to just see Star Wars and a little bit of everything
It's
in this.
amazing.
It's
I
amazing.
think the
amazing.
main
No
question...
paper mache rocks.
Yeah, it's great.
I think the main question is, have they invited you to be part of the new Netflix?
No.
A cameo in any recurring role, anything?
If they asked me to do one, I'd ask you, and if you'd say yes, I'd do it.
If they're not all in the can yet, let's start a little campaign to get Mark back on the show.
I think that they may want to. Billy did one. I think they'd want to. I think they'd want to use me in one of them somewhere along the way.
Yoda,
Second
the
year,
sage.
if it goes a second year, which I think it will. When it goes second year, I'd probably do something.
Yeah, they signed up for the original classic 13 episodes.
Yeah.
Classic TV.
Yeah.
13 episodes. Anyway.
It was great.
I'm going to let you get back to your
Well,
crowd.
listen,
because you got a bunch of adoring
so Lynn
fans
Community
over there.
TV, to all the people who watch that, and Cal's Whirled, and Weekly Wrap, and Lynn Lowdown, and I have a thing. I like Lynn very much because I was born in Lowell, and I consider them twin cities in a way, But keep watching, and this gentleman's shows.
Thank you.
Terrific.
And thank you for coming
very
too.
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching.